Good evening and welcome to What is an IB Education, prepared by Aybars and Joshua for the University of Melbourne. Firstly, let's go over the learning intention for tonight's presentation. We'll be going through the brief history of the IB program, the IB program's purpose and mission statement, the influential figures, and lastly the structure of the IB program, followed by a postscript by George Walker. Brief history. The IB program officially started on October 25th, 1968. Since then, it has gained a huge momentum and made a considerable impact on not only international education, but education as a whole with its unique perspectives and approaches. It became a launching pad for the contemporary education. Today we are going to try and understand and find an answer to questions such as how IB became this successful and why has it become accepted globally as the international standard. What is an IB education? All international or local educational systems can claim to educate a child. The IB program believes in nurturing and educating students with a holistic approach. Today we know that all methods and approaches somehow bring the students to a certain level of academic achievement. Any child can absorb some pre-digested scientific facts eventually. The IB strives to nurture balanced individuals who use their intellect and ethical values to better the world as international-minded global citizens. IB mission statement. The International Baccalaureate aims to develop inquiring, knowledgeable and caring young people who help to create a better and more peaceful world through intercultural understanding and respect. To this end, the organisation works with schools, governments and international organisations to develop challenging programs of international education and rigorous assessment. These programs encourage students across the world to become active, compassionate and lifelong learners who understand that other people with their differences can also be right. The IB program is taking education to a whole different level through a humanistic, holistic, student-centric, progressive, pedagogical approach. It is not a type of exam board which is preparing the students blindly for a standardized test, as we might see in a more neoliberal approach to education. It is a system that takes learners as a whole and equips them with a set of skills, attitudes, and teaches them how to become independent, lifelong, critical and creative learners who are autonomous and able to cooperate and collaborate well with others. The IB program empowers mutual understanding through its rigorous design, holistic curriculum, contemporary pedagogical approaches, and well-architectured framework. In the International Baccalaureate program, schools are considered as professional learning communities and given great importance by the program. Teachers are not only subject matter experts for the topics they teach, but also play a pivotal role in the program, and that is the reason why the IB program provides a range of professional development opportunities. The IB program is a system of education which equips students with all the necessary skills and knowledge to see things from broader perspectives. The principle of creative teacher professionalism, described in Philosophy and Principles of the Diploma Program, emphasizes the importance of teachers being critically self-reflective practitioners who model the approaches to learning they expect of their students in their own approaches to teaching. Professional learning plays an important role in promoting and supporting this practice. The goal of professional learning is improved student learning through enhanced teacher practice. According to Vygotsky, the level of potential development, which is the upper limit of a task a child can perform with the assistance of a more competent individual. This is also known as Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. Getting to know the IB. IB provides extensive support to schools, teachers and parents, as well as students to create a social community which strengthens learning and cognitive development as it becomes a part of life. IB students can relate what they learn and experience in everyday life, which helps them to solve real-life problems and encourages them to make the world a better place. John Dewey is one of the most influential thinkers in the history of the modern theory. He is probably most famous for his role in what is called progressive education. Progressive education is essentially a view of education that emphasizes the need to learn through doing. This places John Dewey in the education philosophy of pragmatism. Pragmatists believe that reality must be experienced. From Dewey's educational point of view, this means that the students must interact with their environment in order to adapt and learn. It is also important to encourage young people to enjoy life to the fullest, and educating the whole person includes exposure to artistic, recreational, and sporting endeavours that can enrich the human experience. A complete education of the whole person must also encourage the enjoyment of leisure. The International Baccalaureate's holistic approach is giving high importance to society and school culture, which is supported by Vygotsky's theory of cognitive development and is focused on the role of culture in the development of mental functions such as speech and reasoning in children. His approach emphasized the importance of society and culture for promoting cognitive development. He also believes that adults in a society foster children's cognitive development in an intentional and systematic manner by engaging them in challenging and meaningful activities, and make learning daily practice. IB learners are able to think critically, free from any favoritism, bias, and illiberalism. From its origins in the 1960s, the IB diploma program stressed the importance of students developing independent learning strategies and skills that were transferable to new contexts. In short, the need to learn how to learn. According to the pragmatist approach, education should be about life and growth. That is, teachers should be teaching students things that are practical for life and encourage them to become better people. In Megatrends 2000, John Naisbitt writes, "The most exciting breakthroughs of the 21st century will occur not because of technology, but because of an expanding concept of what it means to be human." To be able to fully understand the IB program philosophy, we need to take a quick look at the most influential scientists, thinkers, and educationalists behind it. Robert Leach, the original promoter of the IB program, organised the Conference of Internationally Minded Schools in 1962, where the term International Baccalaureate was first mentioned. Robert Leach developed a contemporary history syllabus and exam, which promoted critical inquiry. His pedagogical approach was applied to all IB diploma program subjects, and later to the middle years program and primary years program. John Gomartai, Belgian lawyer, Treasurer, International Schools Association, Chair Board of the International School of Geneva, President, International Schools Examination Syndicate, and President of the IB Council of Foundation. Alec Peterson, instrumental in the formation of the IB organization in 1968, a driving force behind IB curriculum design, first Director General, first honorary member of the organization's Council of Foundation. Kurt Hahn, founder of Atlantic College in 1962. His theory of outward bound four pillars inspired the CAS element of the IB diploma program. The four pillars are physical fitness, expedition of challenge and adventure, project to develop self-reliance and self-discipline, sense of compassion through service. John Dewey, an American philosopher, psychologist, and educational reformer. His key insight was the importance of tapping into students' natural curiosity. A.S. Neal, Scottish progressive educator, author and founder of Summerhill School. Key insight: personal freedom for children, students developing an environment free of constraints. Jean Piaget, Swiss developmental psychologist and philosopher. Director, International Bureau of Education. Key insight: academic intelligence develops in children through a cognitive cycle. Jerome Bruner, American psychologist and author of The Process of Education. Key insight: learning by doing and self-discovery of information makes students better problem solvers. Now that we have gone through the mission statement and the key influential figures of the IB program, we will be going through the program standards and practices, starting with the primary years program, followed by the middle years program, the diploma program, and finally the CP or career-related program. But first, the IB learner profile. The IB learner profile is one of the most distinctive characteristics of the International Baccalaureate. The IB Learner Profile is the IB mission statement translated into a set of learning outcomes of the contemporary education which will lead to intellectual elites. The attributes of the profile express the values essential to the IB continuum of the international education. These are the values that inspire all elements of the program, from the primary years program to the CP, and they describe the cultures of all IB schools in the world. Here are the 10 attributes of the IB Learner Profile. The primary years program has the following key aspects. It starts with the learning profile, followed by transdisciplinary themes, key concepts, the primary years program exhibition, supports a focus on the mother tongue and develops language of instruction and language acquisition, transdisciplinary skills across subject areas, and the PYP attitudes. You can pause the presentation here and see some further information on the primary years program and important elements. Moving on, we have the middle years program. It continues with the transdisciplinary themes and learner profile, however it now has a more global context. The key concepts are still there, but now we have the community service through the community and personal project. Continues to support mother tongue and development of language instruction and acquisition. And again, we see transdisciplinary skills across subject areas. However, now we have a more balanced subject choice for the learner. Again, we can pause the presentation here if you would like further information on the middle years program. Next, we have the diploma program. Continues with the learner profile and transdisciplinary approaches. However, we now have interdisciplinary approaches through subjects such as environmental science and societies. The diploma program has more focus on promoting creativity, activity, and service in the community. And it still continues to support the mother tongue language of instruction and language acquisition. It introduces extended essays, as well as theory of knowledge, and a variety of types of assessment which require various types of skills and not just subject knowledge. Once more, we can pause the presentation if you would like further, more detailed information on the diploma program. Finally, we have the CP. Its focus is for students to gain the necessary academic knowledge and experience with service learning, reflective project, personal and professional skills course, and language acquisition. The CP aims to prepare students for the real-life situations by giving them the skills such as flexibility, adaptability, being a balanced person, and unlocks one of the most important skills, which is the enablement of the students to learn how to learn new skills and knowledge. It's important for students to adapt and gain knowledge and experience to meet the standards of the local demands through the CP. Finally, the CP aims to close the gap between the academic and vocational needs of adult life. Once more, we can pause the presentation if you would like further information on the CP. Moving on to the Postscript by George Walker, 2012. Throughout the Postscript, Walker discusses the cultural controversies that have emerged alongside international education. Walker reminisces about conversing with distinguished alumni about a burden of tolerance rather than acceptable versus unacceptable values. He goes on to critique and highlight the apparent Western Enlightenment-centric tendencies of the IB program. Walker follows on by positing that the IB and broader international educations could be more idealistic than realistic, claiming that benefits to bilingual students and cultural awareness require more research to be substantiated. At the moment, what we do is too precariously balanced upon an act of faith, and that cannot be sustained. This was in reference to the IB program and its idealistic nature. The Postscript acts as a sort of critical assessment of the IB program. Walker posits some really constructive questions and ideas about the validity and merits of the IB program and whether it is more of an idealistic approach than a realistic one, and the pros and cons of international education in a broader setting. Some really good points for discussion that came up from reading the Postscript. include how do we know that international education actually works? Further from this, what will the future of international education look like as technology advances? And does a one-size-fits-all approach to international education work, given the breadth of cultural and ethical values across the world, especially the contrast between Western and Eastern values? So, thank you for listening to the presentation. Hopefully by now you understand the history of the IB program, along with its purpose and mission statement, the influential figures, and the structure of the IB program. Alright, now it's time for a discussion. So we have here some questions. We might pause the presentation here and maybe just address a few of them together. And there are some more questions here. Again, we might pause the presentation and just look at a couple. And that brings us to the end of the presentation. Hopefully you've learned something and enjoyed it. This has been presented by Aybars and Joshua. Thank you.